Do you ever feel like you're just creating content, but you're the world's best kept secret in your niche? And you're creating all this content, but it is not turning into inbound inquiries and revenue for your business. Or worse still, you're just so overwhelmed about what content do I create? How do I create it? Or you've created the content and you just get no likes or shares or all of that, and you just stop. So people who can crack the content creation process benefit in a number of different ways. One, obviously authority positioning in your niche. Two, inbound inquiries. And three, you're creating long-term assets that you can reuse again and again and again in your business, and they're adding value into your business. But most people never get there. And there's a couple of key reasons that I'm going to go through in some of the frameworks I'm going to show you now that I work with my clients on. So first reason is not creating the right type of content in the first place. Second reason is not tying it back into the offers that you create. And the third reason is not having a consistency, because they're trying to create something brand new every single day, every single week. So the answer to that is the one-page content engine framework that I'm going to run you through. Because once you do that, you have a process to follow, you have consistency, and you're tapping into the right messages within your content. So let's take a look at that in a little bit more detail. So first of all, it's okay. So what messages are you creating? So what we're talking about here is this core awareness content. So certainly most consultants that I speak to are very, very bad at creating this core awareness content piece that you see over here on the left. And the reason being is I don't know. So typically they're focusing in on this thought leadership content here and this piece, but there's some challenges when you do that. So when you're not entering into the conversation that is going on in the mind of your prospect. So when you are trying to do this thought leader content, it is just too much. You're not hitting the brain of your ideal client. And then a lot of people are kind of trying out this bonding content. And it's, showing pictures of you out with your kids and things. And that's great. And that gets an emotional connection, especially if you are in the target demographic and like your audience. But what very few consultants that I speak to are doing really well is this core awareness content here, which is really demonstrating that you know what it's like to live a day in the shoes of your ideal client. So there's a couple of different levels of how you do that. So as we said, core awareness content, first part of that is identify 3 key known spoken symptoms of the challenges that they face right now. So 1, 2, 3. What are the 3 hot buttons of the symptoms? So not necessarily even the problem. As a consultant, as an expert in your field, you might know the underlying problem beneath that, but what we're looking at is the symptoms. And what I've also put here is the clear differentiator is the known spoken. So on social media, especially on places like LinkedIn, people are going to engage with content that speaks to something that taps into what they're acutely aware of right now, but also that they're going to admit to. So this is kind of the social media content. Then you have a layer beneath that. And I show my clients how to work all these layers, obviously. But then you have known unspoken. So that's where they have problems and challenges that they won't openly admit to on social media. And you have an opportunity to do and address these types of things when you're on, more in-depth like events or webinars. But really, you wouldn't try to address that in your social media content. And then you have, this true thought leader content here. And this is where you have an emotional connection with people. They've bought into you as a person. They've bought in that you really understand level 1 and 2. Now you've stepped into their world, you can lead them with your complex thought leadership content. But if you put this out on social media, it's not going to get any attention at all, really, because it's too complex, it's too much of a step. So the key thing is to identify the 3 key symptoms of your target audience. So what is the pain that the challenge is? And then you link those and make sure those are linked. Obviously, for me, I've got them here. You link them to subtopics of your core offer. So again, with my clients, we do what's called a segmented core offer. So you've got your main offer here, then you break that down into 3 pillars. That could be people, process, and technology. Within people, you might have a subtopic of culture, you might have onboarding, you might have remuneration, or whatever it is for you. And then within culture, you might have a subtopic that is something slightly different. And then these are the topics so that you then pick. So if you've identified the 3 main symptoms of the problems your audience is facing, and you then link it back strategically to your offer, because there's no point creating the content if you can't solve it with your offer, because ultimately that's what we're trying to do. And then the consistency challenge is addressed by the fact that you have a repeatable schedule of content. So here I teach my clients to create a year's worth of content in one go. So how do you take that? You take those 3 key problems and symptoms and you break that down into 4 mini topic areas as shown on the screen here. And then you do that over a quarter. So everything in a week is condensed into one problem that's a subtopic of that hot problem. So then in a quarter, you've got consistency and repetition of that message. You do that for 3 months, then you repeat the same content and those same assets that you've created. And then that breaks down into a weekly schedule where, okay, so how do you do that? So you've now got one core theme for the entire week. You write it aimed at one particular person, and there's a number of structures. So for me and my clients, I give them a repeatable process. So every Monday they do a certain thing, every Tuesday they do a certain thing, etc., etc., etc. So we start off with something like a poll on the Monday, which is to give engagement and to get people commenting on that poll, so you can then engage them in a question, in a conversation. Tuesday, we head into what we call a belief shifting piece. Wednesday, again, we have another piece. Thursday is a live video. Friday is a carousel. Saturday is a case study and or a story. Going back to Thursday, you can link that back to a newsletter. So, and again, there's more. So there's blog pieces that go with it. There's a whole load of content. But what you then have, if we zoom back out, you have a repeatable framework. So the content that you're creating on social media is at the right level. It's addressing the conversation that's going on in someone's mind. So it's also demonstrating that you understand the challenges that you're facing. You are strategically linking it to core pillars of your offer. And then once you do that, you're breaking those core pillars down into quarterly cycles. You then create those quarterly cycles and then you repeat it over time, very often utilizing the same assets. And then within each week, you have a tightly themed schedule that then leads back into your core offer and engagement. So we have all of the processes for that. And in fact, I'm just releasing a new training on this. If you'd be interested in that training, or if you want to get this content process implemented in your organization and get this stuff nailed for you, then all you have to do is comment. Well, it depends where you see this, really. If this is a live comment, content below. If this is part of a blog post, and you can comment on it, put content below. If this is on one of my web pages, then it'll be somewhere here for you to opt in as well. So There you go. That's the one-page content engine framework. Speak soon. Bye-bye.